Thank you for choosing this podcast. This is a working class production.
So this is a new podcast, and we just wanted to share a little bit about who we are and what we're trying to do.
So we, two elephants in the room, two young, attractive black
Yes.
therapists who just so happen to be deltas, and we really want to just really educate you guys and have a little bit of fun. So we are going to be just talking about difficult topics and hope that you'll just kind of hang in there with us. I think we just wanted to spend today talking about how we got the name and how we got to where we are today.
Oh my gosh, finding this name. Like how many weeks were we sending text messages back and forth? What do you think? Well, mostly like, what do you think of this one? What do you think of this one?
Yeah, and I could always tell when you weren't feeling the name because you wouldn't respond. So I gauged, your response on, this could possibly work. And so initially we were going to do elephant in the room.
Yeah.
But as we started looking for social media handles, that was taken by 1 million people. By the way, this is a PSA to the Instagram people. I feel like if somebody takes an Instagram name and they don't post anything or use it after a certain amount of time, you should delete their account, because there are people out here who are taking good Instagram handles
and just hoarding them for no reason.
Exactly.
Not doing anything with them.
Anything with them.
That ain't right.
So I honestly, right before we sat down to talk about what this first episode was going to look like, Aaron, I had no idea that you crossed grad chapter.
I did.
So that is, we had two very different experiences with me crossing undergrad.
Do you want to share a little bit about your experience?
It was rough as hell, man. To all my Ada chapter members listening, the shit was rough. I had no idea what it meant to be Greek. At the time, my mother was in Afghanistan. She was not giving me money to pledge. I had to sell my MacBook. This is probably the MacBook you're looking at right now. It's probably the third or fourth that I own. Okay. Because my mother, when I told her I was trying to pledge, she was like, I ain't giving you money to have friends. This is not happening. So I had to figure that shit out. I had to sell my laptop. And when I tell you, I did not have a clue. Okay? Didn't have a clue. Learned a lot about myself, though. Learned a lot about myself, and did some very uncomfortable things, and really made some lasting friendships. Nice. And I tell my Neos all the time, this shit is about being a woman and supporting each other as women. I don't really care about the Greek stuff. It's irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
I think that it is a great way to network and really build each other up.
True.
I'll just never forget, when we crossed, I felt like we were still online. My big sisters was not, I didn't really see a difference.
There was no transition.
But I wouldn't change, I wouldn't change anything about it. I wouldn't. And it is nice to know that no matter what city you go to, you can reach out to somebody in the chapter, and not everybody will welcome you, but somebody will welcome you. Every state that I've lived in, I've been able to connect with SOARs, and it's been nice. But then there's the other side of it where, sometimes I'm still accountable for the line that I brought in, or people are still holding on to things that happened. Because I think this year, I pledged in 2008. So, yeah, me and my
So did I.
Yeah, we turned 8.
Yeah.
And there are some things, and I'm just 5 years ago now this has happened, and still holding
Gotta
on.
move on.
Gotta move on. So, yeah, what about you?
Well, like you said, I pledged grad chapter. I tried to pledge undergrad, but the way that, all chapters experience, sometimes you're just not on the yard. And so when they were, it was a rush of everyone, and I wasn't selected. And feelings were hurt, but I moved on. I moved on. And so actually pledging grad chapter, like the best part of the experience was that it was a chapter that my mom helped to charter.
Oh, yeah.
And so it had like a more sentimental value to it. But I was in graduate school in Boone and I was pledging in Hickory. And so if anyone is from North Carolina and you understand the distance, it's about an hour drive.
Oh, hell no.
And so I would be in Boone to do classes. Well, and I also had a class in Hickory at one of the external locations for Appalachian State.
Okay.
And so fortunately there were many nights when I would have a class in Hickory and still have to go do things for Delta. So, but yeah, there were days when I would have to drive up and down the mountain early in the morning, late at night. But yeah, I mean, it was a good experience. I think the thing that I love most about being a member of Delta is like what you said, a lot of networking. Like there have been plenty of times when I've been on a plane and just happened to sit next to a Delta or someone will see my keychain. And, you know, it's just always like, I love the idea that basically anywhere I go, I can find someone and they'll give me a hug because I love hugs and Deltas always give a hug.
That's very interesting. I don't like hugs.
Oh, wow.
I don't like people, Aaron. Let's be completely honest, okay? And some of my friends will come visit, and even my nails too. If people come visit me and I haven't seen them in a while, I know I gotta hug them when I leave. One of my nails is always like, I know you don't like hugging, but I'm gonna hug you. So I don't know. It's something to examine. The therapist that doesn't like hugs.
I mean,
or people. But listen, I hug people. I do, and I know that it's a societal thing. But I have this thing about societal pleasantries. Okay, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah. But then also, I remember like when I was online, because my mother is a Delta, my dad's a Q. Like they tried
dad's a Q.
Yeah, they tried to like give me a little bit of that. Oh, you know, you're not gonna listen to your big brother. You're not gonna. I'm like, yo, I get this later. Like, can you chill? Can we just be mom and dad and daughter right now? But yeah, so I mean, I love like the whole. My mom's giving me a lot of her elephants now. She's regifting, and I actually really love it. And I'll go through the house sometimes like, hey, how much do you really want this elephant?
That's nice.
Yeah, so, and she has gotten to the point where she's sick of us giving her elephants for Mother's Day, her birthday, Christmas all that jazz. So now she's
like, let it go.
Doing that for me. But I mean, it was also really good because when I crossed, because my mom had been inactive for a while, like we were active together. And so it was just something for us to do, which I really enjoyed.
That's sweet.
When I was living with her, yeah. So.
And you don't have any sisters, right?
I do have a sister, but she's older than me, but she did not go to college, and so she didn't do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I actually have a younger brother too. So, but neither of them are Greek. Yeah.
So that's that. So then the mental health piece. Piece. How we came to be therapists and what that means. And one thing I will say, and I've said this to you before, Aaron, it's so mental health in the South for me is so different. Just people's.
Well, wait, maybe you should let the people know like some of the places that you've lived, because making a distinction between mental health in the North and the South.
Right. Yeah. So prior to me being here in Charlotte, I was living in Los Angeles, and prior to that, I was living in New York City, and I went to grad school in Washington D.C. And then also spent some time studying in South Africa. So for me, I like that I've been able to see mental health just in a lot of different lights, and I know that with each city there is a different culture, there are different expectations. But
however,
some people feel like you can pray shit away.
Yeah.
And I believe in God, and I know that I can pray for things, but there are some things that
you got to do some work
that
too.
You got to do some work around. And I think it's so interesting to me because, living in Los Angeles, everybody had a therapist. Or, living in New York, everybody had a, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't, the stigma around it wasn't as prolific as it is here.
Yeah.
Especially in these rural areas where, there's miles and miles between one house. And this is just not the life that I'm accustomed to. But yeah, how did you always want to be a therapist? Like,
I'll be honest, I don't remember what I said I wanted to be when I was a little kid. But once I got to high school and I had a psychology course, and it wasn't even that, like, I don't even know what the teacher's degree was in, but I also know he was a coach. And so it wasn't that I think he really like went so hard in the class that I was just like, ooh, he's so great, I want to be like him. But it was just, I was drawn to the information. And I remember it was 9th grade and I sat in the class and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a therapist. And we actually took a Myers-Briggs personality test.
Oh, wow.
And so, one of the suggested occupations was a counselor. And so obviously my understanding of the difference between psychologist, therapist, counselor, like that came as I progressed on my educational journey. But also the thing that solidified it when I was in undergrad, I was a psychology major, but I also had a scholarship for school. And so one of the things that I had to do to maintain my scholarship was community service.
Right.
And so I volunteered at a school that was up the street, and it was a girl that I knew because I used to go salsa dancing all the time, and she would always be there. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to volunteer in your class. And we knew each other pretty well, but I just discovered some things about how she talked with her second graders that I really didn't like. Because at the time I was like, I knew I wanted to be in this field, in this whole therapy counseling field, but I didn't have a clear idea. Like, was I going to be a social worker? Was I going to be a school counselor? Was I, what type of counselor or therapist was I going to be? And so just kind of watching how she interacted with the children, and I realized being a school counselor, I wouldn't be able to deal with that relationship. It would just be focusing on like the child's like progress in school.
Right.
Academic. And that was when I started to do a little more research about the type of therapist you could be, and stumbled upon marriage and family therapists. And it was just this really strong feeling within me that I wanted to, it's like I can't manage what happens to people. I can't manage what happens to anybody at any point in time, but life is going to happen.
Right.
And so how can I help people to have a soft place to fall? If I can work with families and help them build relationships with each other and improve communication, then I know that, there's a potential that if a child goes out into the world and they have a teacher who may not be so nice to them, or they experience bullying with other kids or something like that, then they can come home and maybe have some tools that I've helped them learn, help their family learn, so that they have a peaceful end of their day, or a peaceful beginning of their day. So that became incredibly important to me, and landed at Appalachian, had some of the best professors I've ever experienced. It was a culture shock going from Winston-Salem State to Appalachian State, but
Appalachian State is predominantly white.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. My significant blah 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 went there. Okay. And then I know Winston-Salem State. My cousins went there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty much how it started and has continued to go. And I still draw on a lot of the stuff that I learned in graduate school, specifically from my professors, and just kind of, it wasn't so much the textbooks, it was what, like, their personalities and the way that they thought outside of the box to kind of help people to create their own change. So, and I love that when because you know it when you see the light bulb click on.
That insight, man.
Oh my gosh, there is nothing like that. Seeing someone get it.
Seeing somebody get it.
Yeah. So what about you? How did you come to be a therapist?
I don't even. So when I was in high school, I don't know what the hell I wanted to do. So growing up, I used to read a lot of Nancy Drew. So I thought I was a reader. So for a long time, I thought I was going to be like a detective or FBI agent. Like, I wanted to be Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what happened college-wise, but I was only maybe the second or third person in my family to go to college, so there wasn't a lot of people that could guide me to say there's this, there's this, there's that. So I didn't even know social work was a profession. I just somehow landed up in nursing school. My grandma wanted her daughters to be a nurse. Nobody became a nurse. So I was like, oh, I'll do this because this is what my grandma wants. I love my grandma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm in nursing school, working in a hospital, learning how to draw blood, failing
Oh, wow.
one of the science classes. And I was also doing Army ROTC. So a little bit about me. My mom spent my entire life in the military. She's retired now. My stepdad is active. A lot of people in my family were active military. So I had a scholarship to school. So the plan was for me to be a nurse in the Army. Did not turn out that way.
No.
My sophomore year, like I said, I was failing science class, and I was working in a hospital, and I saw this lady like talking to different people, and I asked her one day during my breaks. I was like, what do you do? She was like, I'm a social worker. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what do social workers do? And so it was in that moment that I was like, I'm doing the wrong damn thing. Like, and I also had my mentor at the time, who I'm pretty close with now. He was getting his BSW, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm just gonna change my major.
BSW is Bachelor's in Social Work.
Yes. I'm gonna change my major. I'm already failing this damn science class. Like, it ain't looking like it's gonna be good. I can draw blood, and I don't have an issue with drawing blood, but when I met that social worker, I was working at VCU Medical Center. I was like, damn, this is what I want to do. I don't want to just put the Band-Aid on like the nurses. Like, I want to holistically help the person. So, you know, some people in my family were like, what are you doing? You know, I remember having a conversation with somebody like, you gonna let this scholarship go? And I was like, you know, I gotta do what makes me happy. So changed my major, did exceptionally well. I had some okay professors in my BSW program, and initially I thought I wanted to do addiction. So there's some addiction in my family. So I was like, okay, I was really fascinated by how we could come to depend on a chemical, like what that meant for our body. So I was so fascinated with that. That was one of my internships. I interned as a foster care social worker in undergrad and at a substance abuse clinic. So I was finishing up school, and somehow I was talking to one of my professors, maybe Dr. Rotabi, who's awesome, by the way. And she was like, you know, your clinical writing needs to be stronger. Like, I think you need to go to graduate school. And I was like, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to get in. Like, you know, who knows? So I ended up applying to University of Maryland and Howard University. So I still wasn't thinking about being a therapist. I was just like, hey, I'll go to grad school, get this master's, and just, you know, working in an addictions clinic. I'm telling you, I will never forget this. And this was like one of the most difficult stories about rejection. So I applied to University of Maryland, applied to Howard. I got accepted to both. My best friend at the time, Trey, helped me pack up all my stuff in Virginia, drive me up to DC. I decided to go with Howard because I got into Howard undergrad too, and I decided not to go. So I was like, this is my chance. I'm gonna go from a predominantly white school to a HBCU. It'll be great.
And we did the reverse.
It'll be great. So I get there, I go pay, you know, at HBCU, everything is in a separate cubicle, which is outlandish to me. So I had to go one cubicle to pay this, one to pay that. So my last stop was at the School of Social Work. So I get there, I'm excited. Trey's out in the car with my entire life in a U-Haul. And I'll never forget the dean, who I will not speak of her name. She was like, oh, I had an intern working this summer and your letter should have been in the rejection pile, not the accepted pile. I say, excuse me?
No.
Mind you, Erin, at this point, I had already turned Maryland down.
No.
I already left my apartment in Richmond. Like, I was set to start my life in DC. And I said, well, no, it was a mistake. She was like, no, like
that's
my
not
intern.
A mistake.
She was like,
you
my intern
put
put your name in the wrong pile. Like, you didn't get accepted. I said, so I've already paid like the school. I've paid my deposit. Like, what you need me to do? And she was like, I mean, I don't think you are worthy of being a Bison. Like, I don't.
What?
She was like, when I look at your transcript, I don't think you'll be able to handle being here. I said, really?
Oh
I said,
my
so
God.
what do I need to do? You got to go out and get 2 more letters of recommendation. You have to explain your, because again, I told you I failed my science class, so my
Yeah.
GPA was low coming
Yeah.
out of college. So you got to explain your GPA. Like, you have to come back and present to us, like, why we should take you. I did all this running around, wrote a new essay, got more recommendation letters. Like, I was determined to get in this damn school, if for no other reason than, like,
Yes,
you
to
told
shut
me
her up.
that I
Yeah.
wasn't
Worthy?
worthy of being a bison. So needless to say, I did all that. They let me in. And I did great. You know what I mean? I had a
Yeah.
great experience at Howard. I had great professors. I took my first trip out of the country to Haiti.
Yeah.
And then to South Africa. Spent some time in South Africa on my own. And it wasn't until like my second year. Grad school's 2 years. It wasn't until my second year that I was like, oh, I could give therapy a go. And I think during one of my visits in South Africa, I learned about just discernment, just the power of knowing and how I could figure things out. And I'm like, you know, this therapy thing could be okay. You know what I mean? Like, it could work. And I haven't looked back since.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That, I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the you're not worthy part because how
Girl.
do you...
I'm telling you, one of the things that I really want to write a book about, and I've like started these articles, but I haven't finished them, is just like the power of rejection. And I talk to people about it all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, some only children, no offense to the only children out there in the listening world, but there are some people who can't handle a no.
Yeah.
And me being who I am, I've received so many no's in my life.
Yeah.
That I feel like it's just made me a better person.
I may need to read your article.
You know, it's crazy because and I talk about this all the time. Like, unfortunately, some of us have come up and have never been told no, and so when we get a no,
Yeah.
we have a damn meltdown.
But you know, you mentioned only children. I'm a middle child, and so that's a whole nother, situation.
That birth order, man.
yeah, and it's not even that. Like, I'm between a special needs child and a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm just gonna tell this story right now because I'm pretty sure this is our first podcast, so my mama is listening. When I what was it, last Christmas? I've always known that my mom wanted me to be a boy. And so it was like last Christmas or something like that. She was going through and because they got all the Christmas decorations down, so she's going through to get all of her she's trying to get my stuff out of their house because I haven't lived there in years, and so she's like, you need to come get your stuff. And so there was this box, and it was full of all these papers and things, because my mom was a teacher, and so it had stuff from when she was pregnant with me,
right,
where her children had written her letters, and all of them were, Miss Steele, we miss you, sorry you didn't have a boy. And I'm just like, Mom, for real? I was like, that's why you gave me a unisex name.
You do have I like unisex names, but you do have a unisex
I do have a unisex name, but also my mom said that she wished she had a unisex name, so
My
I think
kids will have unisex names.
That's why she says that's why. But I have all these theories of how I'm just like the odd man out. They love my brother and sister more. Yeah, I just needed to put that in there. I love you, Mom and Dad, but I know.
That birth order,
it is so real.
You mentioned being a middle child, and I tease one of my best friends. She's a middle child, and I say to her all the time whenever she feels like she has to like she's like, well, as the middle kid, like I have these responsibilities. I'm like, who made this shit up?
Yeah.
Who said I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest child and the oldest grandchild. Who said the oldest had to be the responsible one? Who said the middle child had to fill in the gap? Who said the baby had to be the spoiled one? But
it's literally that way in my family.
It's that way in most people that I meet. It's like that.
But I don't even know that, like, it would have been any different had I not been a therapist and didn't know about these things. I think it's naturally just how you feel, because when I do remember one of the things my professor shared with me in school is that every time a new person is born into a family, it's a new family. And so
that makes sense.
What happens, when there is parents and a child, and then parents and 2 children, is and then parents and 3 children, and in my mom's case, she had my brother 10 years after she had my sister, and so I say they were tired, and that's why he gets away with so much.
Gets away with everything.
Oh yeah. But I'll be honest, like, I'm sometimes complicit in that because I'll baby him too,
right?
And so
yeah,
I live with my family.
But
birth order is real.
Birth order is real, and
it impacts my personality in a way that I don't even, like I said, I don't think it would be any different if I didn't know these things about birth order and being able to, kind of process therapeutically what that means, clinically what that means. Yeah.
And I, hopefully my family, I know my aunts and my grandma and my mom are listening, but I've said the same thing about my sister. My sister's younger, and just it's different when you're the youngest, man. I say to my mom all the time, like, y'all let her get away with damn murder.
Yeah.
There were things that there is no way I would be able to, would have ever gotten away with. You know what I mean? But then too, the other part of me, like the rebel part of me, is like, I don't want to be responsible. I don't want, like, God damn, can I not be responsible one day, one time? So I get it. But we have gone on for quite some time now. But we wanted to again give you guys a little bit about how we came to this name, like how we came to be here. Hopefully you guys are not scared off.
Hold on, let me just explain, because there may be some people who don't know about Greek life. So as Deltas, and I guess I did say this, my mom has shared her elephants with me, but it's like the unofficial, like, I don't know, symbol of our sorority. And so because we are both Deltas, we are 2 elephants, and because we're therapists, we talk about really difficult things. So we're bringing all the elephants into the room.
Every last one of them.
Every single one. All of them.
And we are, going to talk about some current events and do some character analysis and all that other jazz. And I do, we do plan to end the podcast with just some self-care tips. Some things that you guys can consider, because self-care is important.
Absolutely.
And my tip for today is just gonna be, to laugh. Laughter is good, man. Laughter is good for us. And there's something about muscles. There's more or less muscles, frowning versus laughing. Whatever that means. Yeah. All I know is I feel way better after a good laugh.
If I could be a complete nerd about it, I remember reading about a study where they had people hold pencils in their mouth. I don't know if you knew about this, but so you would put the pencil or a pen, like the end of it, into your mouth, and so it was like your mouth was pursed around the pencil, and you had to read sentences. And then the other one is you would put it like horizontally in your mouth, like between your teeth, and you had to read the same sentences. And so while one kind of mimics a frown and the other mimics a smile, they would kind of gauge how you felt reading the sentences. And everyone, I think it was like a majority of the people who read them with the pencil horizontally, like between their teeth, that mimicked the smile, recalled feeling happier reading the phrases. I have to find, I cannot cite that. So, but that is a real study. I remembered it because it just impacted me, because I just, like you were saying, it completely changes, your experience when you can smile through something. So I think that's a really, really great tip for the week.